Ken, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I
And
appreciate it.
we're glad to have you. Obviously, some of this is this latest news is probably not what you wanted to see your name behind. You've been fortunate to see your name behind a lot of news here in the last couple years, but to some degree, you put yourself out into that position. You run for public office. You are now exposing yourself to the public, the perception, opponents as well, right?
That is correct. And it is, I've had a few knives in the back. When you stand out there and you're in front of the issues, these things can happen.
Yeah.
And so we're dealing with this latest thing, and I'll be happy to answer any questions here.
Okay, well, let's just start with the obvious, which is there was an accusation that was put out that Shannon Holloway was put up to run against you for the 32nd Assembly District as a confusion effort to confuse the names with Shannon Grove, who is the Democratic candidate. Shannon Holloway went on a radio program and said that she was, in fact, put up by you. Is this true?
Well, let me kind of put it in context here. Friday night, we found out that my personal computers had been hacked for many months now.
Okay.
So when you get, you get 70 emails a day, and you're discussing many different items, things can be taken out of context and paint a picture that to make it look nefarious when it's actually a pretty innocent interaction. And but to straight on here, just to answer your question, yes, I had met Mrs. Holloway. She's a nice lady.
Yeah.
She and her family, she was interested in running. To be honest, I did mention to her, I had one meeting with her, less than an hour, and I did mention, hey, you know what? Realistically, that would probably be good to have a good conservative person in the race who that could benefit my campaign. Realistically, yes.
Okay.
But her motivation was her and her family's. On these races, you don't know if 10 people are going to show up and run. You don't know who's going to actually file, because the filing process is fairly simple. It only takes 40 signatures and $950 or so. And there could have been 10 people there. You just don't know. It's her decision. But yes, the dynamics are, you don't know if there's 5 men running, sometimes having more women would be good or not. You just don't know. But the decision was hers and her family.
Okay, I appreciate you saying that and saying it right here on the Moneywise program that that it was in fact a political strategy of some sort.
Well, for me it would be.
Yeah.
But for her, it was she and her family's decision whether she would run or not. I had no idea if she would actually follow through. So,
do you
that's
view her as being almost an unassociated or actually an unfair pawn in this?
No, not necessarily, because I could have a traffic accident tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't know the future. You don't know what's going to take place. In fact, up until the very last day, there was another candidate, a declared person, Harold Peace. He was in the race, and all of a sudden he just didn't show up. But others could have shown up. And in fact, over the last 6 months, there's been 5, 6 candidates talked about in the newspaper that may or may not run. They've come, they've gone. And, and that's what the paper's reporting. There could be other people just show up on the last day and file.
Now, one of which just dropped out yesterday. And all this, the problem with it, obviously, Ken, is that things seem fishy.
Yes.
And we're talking about a time where frustration with any type of a political position is it seems to be at a peak. We have Tea Party movements because of this. We have people now disclaiming their association with the Republican Party and calling themselves independent. They no longer want to be a part of it.
Right.
But now we have stories like this come out, and it just punctuates it. And you get back to it. Is this so what is this? Is this a strategy?
Well, let me tell you what it is. My computers were hacked. Okay. And by doing that, you can take items on there, and let's say you hire consultants. Okay, their job is to react to news, give you different scenarios, what you could or could not do. Whether you implement those or not is another decision.
Right.
When you have literally 5,000 emails hacked, and you can go and pick and choose and put them in different order or have different, you don't show the whole thread.
Sure.
You can paint a picture that makes it look very nefarious when really it boiled down to a very brief conversation and that's about the extent of it. You know,
Okay,
that's just all there is. You
and
know?
certainly a violating feeling, I can imagine. And
Oh boy.
okay, and
Now, your business owners out there, I'll tell them right now, you have in business many different strategies, scenarios
sure.
for different, it changes daily. You don't know from day to day. A competitor enters, a competitor leaves. Business climates, tax laws change. You have to have scenarios. Can you imagine if your competitors entered into your computer, could see every email you wrote and every email you received in real time, and literally knew every appointment you had, every customer you're going to go talk to,
Yeah,
and then they were going to your customers right before you arrived?
absolutely
It's
violating.
amazing.
Yeah,
And so it's a federal crime. It has
Yep.
been turned over to the feds. There are co-conspirators.
Okay.
And literally my opponent's campaign has had all of my information for months, everything from my personal
Yeah, they got your
life.
playbook.
They got everything. They got
okay.
all my media, all my budgets.
But
So
in
do you
but-
know who did this, Ken?
We have turned that over to the FBI. Yes.
Okay, but in that same statement where you say somebody has your playbook, that they have your strategy, you in essence are saying, listen, they pulled my email pants down and can now see everything.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that on the other hand, there's been allegations of certain things that were said in these emails, and then there's been denial saying, no, that was altered, this isn't
Yes.
correct. But how can we say that one part is correct, my strategy, now they have that, but on the other side, we say the information you've got is not correct?
Well, here, let me clear that up.
Okay.
Like I said, you may have ideas posted or presented to you by your consultant. There could be 10 different ideas. But if you don't have the whole picture, it's out of context. You don't know what's real or not, and then you don't know what's been altered. They also had the ability to literally alter some of these, and I found out on Friday night that this had been occurring because they actually messed up. They actually posted some of these and sent them by an anonymous email to an investigative committee with my state group that I just stepped down as president. It didn't work. I received the unanimous endorsement, and but he must have made a misjudgment. But that alerted us that our computers have been hacked. Otherwise, I would have gone through the full campaign, never knowing that they were inside my computer through the back door, which means they came in through, it was actually through GoDaddy. And that's how we discovered it. So you can take anything. I could go, let's look at this. Any business out there, if their computer was hacked and you went through 5,000 emails, you can take one email, tack it on with another one, out of date sequence, without the thread. You can paint a picture of anything you want on anybody, personally, business-wise, besmirch their character, and take it out of context. And that's what's happened in this case.
Okay, but see, and that's fair. And I can say that. I know how you can get a telemarketing call and you want to avoid saying the word yes as a standalone word because it could be recorded, and then they can tailor that any way they want and say you agreed to some terms. Fine. But let's talk about the real subject at hand, which is this concept of Shannon Holloway being put up to confuse Shannon Grove, which let's assume that that it was the idea for confusion. Is that a political strategy?
Well, I don't even know if that email is correct. No, it's not. It's not, because again, you don't know the scenarios. You don't know who's going to show up, who's going to run.
Okay.
It's not that kind of world out there. People are very independent.
Who's Tracy Leach?
Well, Tracy is my one of my consultants.
Okay. And Tracy Leach also works for Shannon Holloway?
No.
She's not running the campaign for Shannon Holloway as well?
No. And I'm very reluctant to say third parties' names because you realize that these other folks, they're totally compromised here.
Absolutely.
So we shouldn't. I can't even go there with other names.
Okay. Well, and I'm referring to the article that was in the Bakersfield, California, which cites all these names.
But it's citing stuff that has been stolen and out of context.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and the FBI's involved. So you got to understand, I'm under some constraints here.
I understand.
You can
that.
talk to me, but I can't mention other people's names.
Okay. But Chad Vegas is obviously a name that we can mention, and I think he's already gone on record to say that Shannon Holloway suggestions came to her from him.
No, and